2001, A Space Odyssey. In my opinion, this is a great movie. The story begins with the dawn of man. We see how when territory rights become an issue, the idea of a weapon can be useful. A strange black domino-shaped object later known as the monolith then randomly appears, and we cut to the future when space travel is in effect. We follow Dr. Haywood R. Floyd as he travels to Clavius Base in order to inspect a similar-looking monolith with his colleagues. After being attacked by a high-pitched ringing tone emanating from the monolith, we cut to 18 months later and follow Dave Bowman and Dr. Frank Poole on the Jupiter mission. It is here we encounter one of the greatest characters of all time, Hal. Hal is a super smart computer, void of any error. However, he does make an error, and that makes Bowman and Poole decide it is time for Hal to go night-night. Hal is none too happy about this though, so he opts towards being a murderer, of all things. It then becomes a battle for survival. Man versus machine, designed by man. A battle of self-esteem. It all leads to the finale, which is full of magnificent visuals, as well as WTF moments. The one thing I praise this film for above all else is the photography. Kubrick was first and foremost a photographer before he was a director, and it shows because the composition of every shot in this movie is absolutely flawless. Credit must also go to Anthony Masters, who is robbed of an Oscar for his art direction, which remains to this day an example of true artistry. This film's sets are pivotal to the story, and not a single one pulls you out of the illusion. It is a very quiet film for the most part, but still very emotional in a visual sense, and one of the greatest scores in cinema history guides us through. There's sparse dialogue throughout, but when there is dialogue, it's pushing the story and our characters forward on their journey, building tension. And speaking of characters, I would argue Hal is the most human character on the shuttle. Neither Poole or Bowman show any true human emotion. When Bowman has to release Poole from his grasp, for instance, he never gives off any anger or despair. And it's a depressing moment, because he's basically killing him. Hal, on the flip side, sounds and thinks like a human, and when he makes that error, he calls it a human error. Not something he did wrong, like a computer malfunction, but a human error. Hal is his own worst enemy. It is the most brutal reminder of how, in today's society, we expect all of our technology to perform without a hitch. And whenever something goes wrong, we want to replace it, right? You want to just say, you know what, screw it. Don't repair it, just replace it. Yeah, Hal wouldn't like that. He is the last person who wants to be replaced. His actions make that clear as crystal. My only problem with the film, personally, is the final sequence, Jupiter and Beyond the Infinite. The film always loses me there, because to me, at that point, the story has stopped, and Kubrick is giving us a 20-minute experimental short that's an offshoot from 2001, but still related. I looked into an explanation for that sequence and found an interview with Kubrick where he gave a basic spiel on what happens during that bit, and he said that the meaning of it all is subjective. So for me right now, at this point in my life, I'm going to say that the monolith represents God. And because Bowman took care of Hal, proving his will to live, God sees him as the quintessential candidate to have a new life. He is therefore transformed into the Star Child, or Superman if you will, and makes his way towards Earth. I believe this is God sending a surrogate version of himself to Earth. What happens next is literally anyone's guess. Personally, I find this ending to be very disappointing. I get no fulfillment from it at all, because all I'm left with are just questions, and I feel like Kubrick used this ending as a gimmick to get people back into the theater. Either way, it's a film that has influenced so many great artists and continues to inspire to this day. It is a very realistic space movie, one of the best ever made, and is a great educational tool for any aspiring filmmaker. Any field, doesn't matter. Writing, directing, photography, all of it. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you very much for your time. Have an awesome day.